Tim, I got to be honest with you. Like the last 24 hours, I've been on Google. I've been looking up like what revenue operations means. I'm getting all these various different definitions, trying to figure out what it actually means. I was like, I might as well just call you. Maybe you could tell me. What does it mean?
So great question, Rennick. When we use the term revenue operations, we should equate that with designing and delivering a compelling enterprise buying experience at any point along the customer lifecycle. Right. So it's about bringing the right assets to bear, the people, the process, the technology at each stage of the buyer journey, whether they're at the very earliest stage in contemplating whether to prioritize a buying decision, or they've been with us for 10 years and we're thinking about expanding our partnership through a new range of products or services. So if the goal is really to accelerate revenue growth, we should be focusing on the leading indicator, which is the buying experience.
What's the definition of revenue operations?
A good analogy is the conductor of an orchestra.
Right.
For the longest time, you watch these conductors of an orchestra and you're like, I could do that. Literally all they're doing is they're waving their hands up and down. They're pointing at different
They're really
people,
not doing
right?
anything. It's a joke. It's really what they're doing.
But if you're in the audience, right? Now, it is the way that the music, the different sections of the orchestra come together to deliver an experience for the listener that is just beautiful, right? They're the conductor. How do I take all of these individual instruments and weave them together to deliver an incredible piece of music? That's what revenue operations is how do I take all of the collective assets? I got people, I got processes, I've got technology.
Yes.
And how do I integrate them together to deliver an incredible experience for my customer? So think about it as you're the conductor and you've got to build that experience.
I get it.
That's what revenue operations is all about, is how do I take those collective assets of my company, integrate and weave them together to deliver a delightful customer experience. It's interesting because that's where the world of enterprise selling is going. It's not about going out and a lot of people I still think operate like this. They go out and they say, I got to get the best sales talent. Well, I mean, the market's pretty tight right now, the labor market, right? And you can't count on that. You can't keep, I screwed up, because by the time you figured out you don't have the right talent on your bench,
right,
it's 6-9 months later, and you got to start over, and you got to go through the whole hiring process. So there's got to be more than just assembling individual talent. It's got to be more than a 1 + 1 = 2. Right. You got to actually build the system, right, that you can plug this talent into to deliver this great customer experience over the customer life cycle.
All right. So follow my logic for just 1 second.
Yeah.
So let's stay with the Moneyball example, because I think it resonates with me. I like baseball. Anyway, so for 100 years it's been done one way. Some guy comes out of nowhere and says, you know what? Instead of worried about hitting, going into the Super Bowl, we're going to use this system to determine what metrics, right, what percentages that we need to have in order to get people on base. So in essence, he created this system that they use to determine how they were going to hire people, how are they going to, win baseball games and whatnot. And what's ironic about, that example, Moneyball, is that it worked, right? And didn't at the end of the movie, Billy Beane get asked to be the general manager for the Red Sox? And
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think he turned it down, didn't he?
Yeah, like $4 million. Well, I think what's interesting about that analogy is that revelation not only just changed baseball, but now they've injected that same philosophy, that same process into football, into basketball, it's everywhere. You can't go anywhere. Think about fantasy football. It's all about stats, right? So everywhere you go, this new process has been put into place to make winning easier, right? Winning easier. Why has that process not been planted and put into the corporate world, or has it?
Well, I think it's just emerging now. And I think that's the dawn of the revenue operations function. is, putting people, not looking at it just as in I got to get great talent on the team, but how do I architect my people, the skills and talent of people, the competencies, the processes, the practices, the underlying technology and workflow. How do I harmonize all of those pieces together at every single stage of the buyer journey? Right. So based on what a buyer is doing at this stage of the journey, what is it that I should be bringing to the table to meet them where they are? What's the appropriate skills I need and competencies of my team? So that defines what roles get involved where in the buyer journey.
Right.
Do I need specific technologies to automate workflow there?
Right.
What are the practices? Like if you got a playbook, what are the practices that seem to work well? And how do I continually iterate on those practices to drive improvement? So I think the discipline, and a lot of people, they talk about revenue operations as just the tech stack. Right. And I think that's a incomplete definition. And the reality is there's an inverse correlation between the blow up of the sales and marketing tech stack and people meeting quota. So over the past 5, if you look at all of the enterprise sales statistics, they're going in the opposite direction.
They're getting worse.
They're getting worse. People meeting their quota are going down. The enterprise sales cycle is going up. The number of decision makers in the buying process is going up. So despite all of this incredible technology in the sales tech stack, things are only getting worse. So revenue operations has to think more holistically than just, what's the next shiny object and how do I get that installed across my team?
Well, that sounds like a daunting task. So if you can't get an organization to buy in on buying the whole process, right? Like if you don't go into if you could repeat what Billy Bean did and brought it to another baseball team, they probably wouldn't change anything, or they would add things that are different, that more relevant to them. Can you take a little bit of revenue ops and sprinkle it into just the sales department and maybe customer service, or does it have to be an all-in type deal?
Well, I mean, it has been sprinkled into sales or into marketing for a long time, and it's called sales ops or marketing ops. So I think the objective of revenue ops is to not look at any one function, because when you think about the customer experience, it's going to span several different touch points across the customer lifecycle.
Right.
And I think some of the challenges that we've had over time is when you optimize in the sales area or in the marketing area or in the customer success area, what you often find is you may be sub-optimizing globally across the whole customer experience function. So someone's got to come in and sit over the top of all this and say, hey, enough of this inside out thinking. We got to start thinking from the outside in, put ourselves in the shoes of our customers and try to design that seamless experience all the way across the customer journey.
Right. And
stop thinking about it locally within our function.
It seems like what you're talking about would be common sense, right? Like why it'd be almost like the focus, right? Like I can imagine someone saying that this is going to be the strategy on how we're going to go out and grow revenue. But in today's day and age, I mean, I don't want to tell you how many different companies I've worked for, right? And the fact of the matter is I've worked for a lot of them, and not one of them, if I recall, was focused on anything about what you're talking about. They're more focused on, my silo that I'm in. Let's not worry about what, marketing's doing. Let's not worry about customer service is doing. Just stay focused on your sales task, right? And don't worry about anything else. They'll figure it out. And what ends up happening is you having someone in marketing say you need to do this. They don't agree with the salesperson. The salesperson gets mad because customer service isn't helping, existing clients that, are buying more products. And it ends up being like this chaotic dynamic that you get caught in the middle of. And, 2 years down the road, you're like, I got to get out of here. This is just madness. I'm not getting anything done. I'm miserable. I mean, why aren't organizations saying to themselves, I need to look from the outside in, as opposed to let's just stay in with what we're doing now because that's what's working and I'm not going to make any change?
Well, I think like anything, change is really hard.
Right. I agree.
And getting, I mean, it takes a lot of leadership because the resistance to change is pretty high. I mean, how long have we been hearing about the term sales and marketing alignment? You know, sales and marketing have always been biting at each other's toes, right? So it's not biting at their toes, biting at your heels.
Right.
You
can do toes.
Is that worse, biting at your toes? I don't know.
It sounds worse. I'll be honest with you. It just sounds worse.
Sounds more disgusting.
Doesn't sound very sanitary.
So it's like just trying to figure out how you align the organization around these big meaty objectives like the customer experience is not easy, right? So I remember doing the research after Billy Beane took the Oakland A's to the playoffs using this method. It was years before it was widely embraced by Major League Baseball. You know, now you look at it and you say almost every team's got a sabermetrics department within the front office.
Right.
But it's not like they did this and everyone just embraced it in 1 year. And so I think that revenue operations and B2B companies are getting there because they have to get there, but it's going to take some time for the light bulb to go off. I think McKinsey posted some statistics on this, that they were quite a ways behind B2C right now in terms of delivering that customer experience. So they got a lot of catching up to do. But if you think about it, it's a lot harder, right? Because this gets back to, are we talking user experience or customer experience? In the B2C world, when you're delivering an app, you can wrap that experience within the app.
Right.
But when you're dealing with hybrid, offline, online, even think about Amazon, right? I may be ordering the product online or at Walmart, but I got to go to the store to pick it up, or it has to get delivered here. So it's an omni-channel experience, and trying to integrate all of that across the customer life cycle is pretty complicated.
Can you do a little bit first to get people's toe in the water before they dive in, or is it an all-in type deal?
I was going to think of a inappropriate analogy on that. I think people used to say you can't be half pregnant. I don't know if that's diplomatically acceptable in today's days.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, how can you deliver 50% of a great customer experience?
Yeah.
I mean, you're either bought in or you're not.
Right.
So you got to make investments in it. And really go all in, or the reality is you're probably not going to be around in 5 to 10 years, because that's how important it is now. Like I said, it's the most important decision criteria when enterprise buyers go to market.
Yeah, it's true. To your example about the digitization, right? Like, that resonated with me, because you're right. When I'm only working on an app, because that's the only form of communication that I have for buying, customer service, getting messages, whatever it happens to be. If I'm enjoying that experience, then my experience that I'm having is more than likely going to want me to either buy that service or purchase a product using that app again. But taking it outside of that world, because not every organization just has, they use apps, but it's not their primary driver, whether it be websites or whatnot. It seems like, to your point, that is it a methodology? Is revenue ops a methodology?
I don't look at it as a methodology.
How would you look at it? Well, how would you coin it? Is it, it's a process?
I think revenue operations is all about developing three capabilities within an organization with the desired outcome of creating a compelling customer experience.
Okay.
Those capabilities are aligning the organization around this customer experience. What does that look like?
Right.
Okay. Investing or committing to the tools and whatever investments you need to make to enable all of those customer facing teams to set them up for success. Because so oftentimes I've been in organizations where they expect success, but they don't invest in their team. So you got to invest in the teams to give them the tools and processes and practices they need to be successful. And third, you have to give them an execution framework, right? And this is where a lot of organizations fall down. It's like, well, hold on, I've aligned them against the vision, I've invested in it, but we're not executing well as a team. So we're constantly falling short of targets. So if you can build those three capabilities, again, with the end goal of delivering this customer experience,
right,
that's what revenue operations is really about. The revenue will come, because think about it, if you're working on those leading indicators and you're delivering a customer experience over and over and over again, you don't have to worry about the revenue. The revenue is going to be there. And that's not to say that revenue is not an important metric. It is and always will be an important metric, especially if you're a public company reporting to the street, right?
Right.
But if you focus on revenue, then you're too late. You got to focus on some of the predictive controls you can put into place so that before you find out whether you hit your revenue number, you can make the necessary adjustments to get
adjustments in real time.
In real time.
And not at the end of the quarter. Is there a good example of like a company out there that in your opinion has knocked the cover off the ball on understanding and utilizing, customer experience as a way to, generate multiple transactions? I mean,
the first one I always talk about is Amazon.
Yeah. Right.
I think they were founded in 1994. And I remember this like it was yesterday because they were focused, if you remember, exclusively on books when they came out.
They would give people affiliate links too, right? You could put,
and everyone would roll their eyes at this guy, Jeff Bezos. What the hell are you doing, buddy? Right. Because he was in the red for 7 years.
Is that how long it was?
Till 2001, I think, when they hit their first profit. And so what was he doing for 7 years? He was building a great customer experience. And there's all types of quotes from Jeff Bezos,
right,
on how he looks at the importance of the customer experience. So let me ask you this, would Amazon be the most valuable brand in the world right now if instead of focusing on the customer experience in the first 7 years, he got his leadership team together and said, guys, the goal this year is $50 million in revenue. Right. And the goal next year is $1 billion in revenue.
Right.
Do you think they would be where they are today if they took that track and focused on the lagging indicator? I doubt it.
Oh, I absolutely doubt it. I don't know if you've seen, I think Frontline, which I'm a big fan of, they did a 2-hour deal on Amazon because they're just insane. We all know who they are. I've bought and I still buy products from them. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's easy. It's simple. I know it's going to get to my house. If it doesn't get to my house, I call, I get a refund. They don't ask me why, or they don't ask me for a receipt. They don't ask me for anything, fill out this form. No, not any of that. But during that Frontline interview, this guy was asking all these senior level executives that reported to Jeff Bezos, kind of like, controversial question because they want to throw Amazon into this, this tailspin. But they constantly talked about the customer to the point of ad nauseum. Like, seriously, can you stop talking about the customer? We're obsessed about the customer. And it got to the point, like after 2 hours, I was just like, can you shut up already about the customer? I already understand it. But that's legitimately, they are so obsessed about making sure that you and I have that experience that gets me buying more and more and more, that if you don't have that obsession, you almost shouldn't even start the business because something else will be more important other than the customer experience. All right. So that brings up another interesting point. Okay. So just stick with me for a second. I'm going to go off on a tangent right over there. All right. So you probably have somebody, if someone's watching this and they're saying, well, look, I just make soap. I don't have technology. I'm not creating, I'm not sending books all over the place. I'm not doing all these things. I just sell soap, right? And so does revenue operations work better in one industry vertical, or can it be, can the paintbrush go across all of the industry verticals? I'm curious.
Well, I think the concept of delivering a great customer experience applies if you're in business, in any business. Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now you can call it a customer experience, you can call it a consumer experience if it's B2C. So I can't think of an industry where it doesn't make sense not to delight your customers. I think where the opportunity costs are the greatest of failing to do so happen to be in the B2B space when you're serving the enterprise market, because sales cycles are very long.
Right.
Deal sizes tend to be very high. You make very large investments over the course of the sales cycle. right? So you want to make sure that you're investing in customers that are a good fit for your product or services, right? That they meet your ideal customer profile. Because you spend 9 to 12 months on a customer that you don't have any chance of winning. And oftentimes you're layering in all types of subject matter expertise across that sales cycle.
Right.
You could have wasted high 6 figures, low 7 figures on a losing deal.
Easy.
So I think it's important in all industries, but particularly B2B, technology, services, longer sales cycle, complex, highly consultative sale. There, the consequences of not getting it right are the most severe.
Well, look, I needed, it's daunting now. And you brought up a really good point, because it almost feels like the revenue operations is kind of like, back to the Jack Welch days where he, coined the term, or he started using Six Sigma. It's like they're using revenue operations in the same type of way. And you have 95, 100 different people trying to make it more complicated than it actually is. But you've simplified the definition for me, because it's not confusing. It's just focusing your business assets on obsessing about how that customer is not only going to buy once, but twice, but 3 times, and will not go anywhere else but your business, your organization, your website to buy your stuff, because it's nothing but a pleasure to work with them.
Well, we'll close, Rennick, on one other thought, that because you raised a really interesting question, which is, how do you get your organization to get there? Right. And the orchestra made me think about this, right? Is when you look at the people in an organization that are in the sales organization, in the marketing organization, and the customer service, they look at themselves as, I play the violin, I play the viola, right?
Correct.
They don't look at themselves as a part of the broader orchestra with a customer who's sitting out there that they have to serve, and recognizing that their ability to serve that customer is highly dependent on how they harmonize with everyone around them, with the viola, right? With the bass, with the cello, right? So as a leader, this gets to the overcoming the resistance of change. It's really important that you change the mindset of these individuals from just that, individuals, to you're part of a broader team with a higher level mission that's much larger than just you.
Right.
That's a purpose of delivering this incredible musical masterpiece for your customer, in the case of the orchestra, right?
Sure.
And when you can get your teams there and they get bought into that higher level mission, changes the game, completely changes the game. So I just thought I'd end on that, because I think there's probably a lot of people out there that are like, that sounds really cool, but how do we actually get there? And you have to stop thinking of yourself as the I in the orchestra versus the we, and what you can do together as a team, because it's really quite powerful when you change your perspective.
So, in closing, full circle, I appreciate everybody for watching our program here at Growth Sigma. And if you have any additional questions about what it is that Growth Sigma is doing, you have any questions for Tim, you have any questions for me, click on the link in the description below. We'll answer any of your questions. More importantly, you know what? Like the video. It's a great video. And if you have somebody else that you know that is asking themselves what revenue operations is, or is just curious, do us a favor, share it with them as well. We'd love for you to, if you got any value out of what we're talking about, share with them as well. And if you can subscribe, it'd be great, because this isn't going to be the last time we're doing it. We're going to talk a lot of more stuff about revenue operations, other dynamics, how they all work, what it all means. We're going to answer your questions. That's how it's going to work here. Okay. That's how we're rolling. So Tim, appreciate you so much, man. This has been awesome.
Rennick, always great to see you and spend time with you. And we'll catch up soon, I'm sure.
Hey, question though, did you get a new office in the background?
Yeah. Do you like it?
It's incredible.
I'll take this rock right off of the shelf back here.
Throw it at me. Just throw your screen. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. We'll see you, man.